40 for Raidable Crest Titans.
Last time we came out racing in the Britpart All-Wheel Drive Championship in association with Pioneer and Whitchurch MOT Centre, we saw our crews join the Northern Off-Road Club for an event at Pickering, a challenging two-day event that saw a number of the championship hopefuls not making it out of Yorkshire on the opening day, including Andy Di Giulio and Rebecca Clarkson, the gearbox on the car giving up on run 5. Frustratingly, the pair wouldn't have it fixed in time for this weekend's event, and they've been missing from our start list, notable by their absence. A last-minute error for Rob Boole and Peter King would see them miss out on a potential second place overall last time out, having to settle for third. Still a great result though as far as the championship was concerned. And beating them to that position would be Richard Kershaw, taking advantage of the small loss of concentration for Boole, but crucial as far as the championship campaign is concerned, of course, and taking that second spot despite a few problems of his own throughout the weekend. But taking the victory would be this man, Justin Birchall, a good one at that by the end of the weekend, adding enough points to the total for the season to put him in second place in those all-important championship standings. Round 3 of the championship then moves back to Wales, and a different challenge to last time out, that is for certain. A number of crews missing due to their cars not being ready in time. It will be a good chance for some points on the board for many throughout the leaderboard. So let's get straight out to the action then, and it would be an early lead for Paul Rowlands, out this weekend in the old car due to the damage caused on the Lofthouse Freelander at the previous round. Clearly, there was no loss in pace though. He opens up a 26-second lead after the first half of the day. Just behind Rowlands on the leaderboard will be Richard Kershaw. The times close all morning, but it would be the fourth run of the day separating the two as much as they were. But it was far from over yet and could go either way this afternoon. Rob Boole would have a new navigator in with him this weekend. Andy Powell in with Rob for the first time, usually co-driving for Justin Birchall, of course. They have a good run, but didn't escape the punctures that would become such a big part of this event as the day went on. Watch this space. Just behind Boole will be Jason Rowlands. Fourth place for now, actually faster than the Freelander driver on the first couple of runs, but he dropped back a little after that. 16 seconds back from the podium positions at this stage with it all to fight for. Dave and Tony Hooper, meanwhile, were still getting used to the new car, but were happy enough with how things were going. They didn't have to put a spanner on the car other than a checkover and tyres at the end of each of the runs. They'd now be a little cautious over some of the rougher sections of the course as they were not fully happy with the suspension on the car in places, but they still end the morning 5th place overall. For Stuart Williams, it will be 6th. The times looking good overall and getting a bit quicker run by run, ending the morning 27 seconds back from Hooper. It's certainly not insurmountable. Punctures, as I've mentioned, would be the order of the day for many, Rod Parker and James House included. They would also damage the steering rack on the 4th run of the day. Thankfully for them, not losing them too much time, they end the morning 7th place. Rod also sponsoring this round of the championship with Goalia Healthcare. The gaps were opening up a little more now, with Tim Philpott around a minute back from Parker. A slightly cautious start to the event would see his run one time around a minute slower, so it could have been a little closer matched had it not been for that. Class 3 would see only 2 challengers out this weekend, and unfortunately that small battle wouldn't last for long either. Ian Evans putting in some good times, but ultimately he'd only get as far as run 3 before having to retire from the event. That left this man, Nick Pritchard, our sole crew in the class. He'd also be fighting in the overall results as well, up as far as 9th place on the leaderboard now and trying to push that little bit harder and get that bit further up that leaderboard through the afternoon. And rounding out the top 10 for now would be Di Paul, Hansen Phillips and Kieran Jones. After rolling the car at the start of the season at Walters Arena, it would be good to get back out there. They'd have a small issue with the crank sensor plug snapping before the first run, but thankfully they were able to take a part from the tow car, making it fit to continue and get that car to the start line. Moving on from the top 10 then overall, we'd see Leighton Dodds in 11th, also leading the way in Class 6 as well. Richard Hayward and Kelly Thomas hadn't had the best of luck so far with this car, that is for sure. A couple of non-finishes were hanging over them, and they were determined to get to the finish of an event pretty soon, if not today. This weekend was going much better so far, though, the pair lying in 12th place. Once again, James and Philippa Tennant were sharing the driving, with Philippa taking the first 6 runs of the event. And she'd even go on to set the fastest time out of the two of them. They did have an issue when they hit a rock and lost the intercom, but thankfully they were able to get that minor issue sorted and get back out for the next run. This weekend we'd see Pete Downey out again after a little bit of time away from the sport. Starting off with some good times, but he'd lose around a minute on the last run of the morning, reaching the midpoint of the event with 14th on the leaderboard, just a few seconds back from Team Tennant up ahead. And it would be a similar story for Lee Potter, actually setting his fastest time on the first run out, slowing a little after that, ending the morning only 5 seconds back from Downey. Morgan and Carl Boggs were having a very difficult morning, it was fair to say. The fan belt coming off the car on the first run, causing them to lose the steering. More trouble, though, would be to come on the next run when the prop bearing snapped. They needed to bodge something together in service to fix the problem and get them back out on the course in the afternoon. Would they be able to do it? There's frustration inside that car for Steve Smith. He wasn't pushing for the top of the leaderboard like he'd have wanted. He ended the morning, in fact, with 17th place overall. The times were consistent, though, through the morning, leaving him a little way back on the overall and class results, scratching his head and with it all to do. Greg Finch and Joe Anning, meanwhile, will be happy with their times on the morning runs. A good start to the event for the pair. A blowout on the third run of the day, though, would cause them a bit of lost time. Nothing too insurmountable. They end the morning 18th place. This weekend would mark the first time at this venue for Will Thompson and Seren Lillystone. This weekend also having Joe Impey out doing some of the co-driving as well, switching things around. They were enjoying this venue, taking a bit of a cautious start and getting used to the unfamiliar course before making much more of a push. 20th place overall for now, but coming out fighting, no doubt, in the afternoon. It's pretty fair to say that the event wasn't going to plan so far at all for Mark Hones. Co-driven by Stewart and Cole Wade. The time started off well, but a maximum on run 3 when the steering broke would put them right down the order. The co-driver quick to point out that it was caused by driver error. They'd also suffer with a puncture on run 4, adding insult to injury and taking out the brake line. Not the best of mornings, certainly one to forget. Rich Mitchell would be enjoying watching his times come down as the morning went on, and we were enjoying watching the car out there sounding great on the course. There'd only be one crew in the class, but that wasn't going to mean him backing off at all, pushing for the overall leaderboard times instead. Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell came away from round 1 with plenty of issues to get sorted. And they'd unfortunately missed the second round as well, only just getting the car finished in time for round 3 this weekend. It was almost over too soon, a little moment on run 4 when they hit a rock and broke something on the car, sending them off the course. It turned out to be a broken rim, which was luckily an easy fix, and they could get out on the next run, but they'd have gained a maximum in the meantime, dropping down the leaderboard as a result. This will be the first time driving the venue for Margaret Bakewell. Mike alongside as ever. Of course, they had been here before, but in opposite seats. They end up with a maximum on run 3 due to a bad puncture. Not that there's such a thing as a good puncture, of course. Also suffering with cooling fan issues as well, but they get everything sorted and will be looking forward to a much cleaner, more straightforward run through the afternoon. For Mike Arthur, it will be the Class 1 lead, the only one in that class, of course, pushing the Freelander as much as he could in places. But a missing arrow from a previous car would cause him to lose his way a little on the first run, losing a small amount of time and getting back on track, crucially. And rounding out the results at this stage would be Team Liquid, Paul and Nathan Kite, who'd be second in Class 4 at this stage. But it would all come to an end on run 4, the gearbox and engine mount failing on the car, causing their day to come to a premature end. So we're midway through the event then. Here are the results of the third round of the championship as they are shaping up at the halfway point. We're straight out back onto the course for the afternoon runs then here in Wales, and a look at how the results were decided. And it would be a 21st overall finish for Mike Arthur in the Freelander. Of course, with nobody else in the class, it would be a class victory there with some good championship points too. For Margaret and Mike Bakewell, it would be 20th. Dave Bakewell also doing some navigating this weekend to help gain some more confidence in the car. Sadly, that earlier maximum time ruining their overall result for this weekend. Rich Mitchell would start the afternoon as he meant to go on with some good times, faster than the morning ones as well, backing off a little on the final run of the day to get that car to the finish and take the Class 2 victory as well as 19th place overall. Things had been going well for Greg Finch and Joe Anning, that is, up until run 6 when they snapped a track rod end, causing them to get a maximum time. Thankfully, they were able to find a replacement from somebody in service and get back out to finish their final runs. In the end, they were 18th place overall, 3rd in Class 6. There were no problems to report through the afternoon on the course for Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell. Everything going to plan for the rest of the day. The car working well, in fact, including all of the new parts and upgrades since the last time we saw them. Despite managing to get the car sorted and get back out onto the course in the afternoon, there'd be even more problems to contend with for Morgan and Carl Box in the afternoon. The gearbox and engine mount snapping in the final run of the event. Thankfully for them, they'd done enough to qualify for a finish, even with them missing that final run of the day. 16th place overall for the pair, a Class 7 victory to show for their efforts. Richard Hayward and Kelly Thomas would have an issue with the ball joint failing on the final run. And only a mile from home as well, they didn't get the finish that they wanted, missing out by such a small and frustrating distance. But for the purpose of the results, they had done enough for a finish and would get themselves 15th place. No such problems to report for Will Thompson and Seren Lillystone, with Joe Impey in the passenger seat at times as well. They pushed along on the smoother sections of the course, backing off a little on the rougher stuff, just keeping things sensible in order to make sure they got to the finish and, of course, to try and limit their sore backs on Monday morning. They finished the event 14th place overall and in pretty good condition, them as well as the car. A small mishap, shall we say, on run 7 would cause the car to cut out for Rob Parker and James Howes. Not a big issue usually, but this time the car wouldn't restart. They'd get a maximum for that run, putting them out of contention for a good result today, but at least they were able to get to the finish with most of their runs complete. A bit of damage limitation, and we caught up with Rod at the finish as well to see how the event had gone from a sponsor's point of view.
Yeah, it's been a really tough weekend. The Ebervale proved to be as hard as always, with plenty of rocks, plenty of places where we can go off, and yeah, we've had a steering rack go, we've taken 6 tyres out, a starter motor, but we finished, so that's the main thing.
You finished now, but you've still got some work to do at the moment.
Yeah, we're going to whip the gearbox out tonight now before we go on holiday tomorrow. Send it off to France and hopefully get it back before the next event.
Back to the results, and it will be a 12th place finish for Stuart Williams. It should have been a lot higher on the leaderboard, but a maximum on the final run of the day would put an end to any hopes of anything better today. Still, 12th was a good end to the event. Mark Hones, co-driven by Stuart and Cole Wade, would also have hoped for a much better result than they were taking home, but they really hadn't had a good day. With problems this morning and a number of punctures on most of the runs, they get to the end of the event kicking and screaming, it has to be said. 11th overall, and they'd probably be grateful for that given the issue. We're on to our top 10 then here at round 3, and it will be a 10th place finish for Steve Smith, ending the event 3rd in Class 9 as well. For Leighton Dodds, it will be 9th to end the event. That result good enough to take the Class 6 victory this weekend. James and Philippa Tennant will be pleased to report they'd had a better afternoon, with James taking over for the final 2 runs. A puncture on run 7, the only notable issue, but they didn't even notice it until they got back to service, so it probably wasn't that notable at all. Probably didn't even affect their time. They end the event 8th overall, taking the Class 5 victory in the process. And there's frustration for the hard-charging Richard Kershaw. The event would go from good to bad in the final run. After being in the fight at the top, he'd unfortunately suffer a mechanical issue that would see him unable to complete that all-important final run, meaning a maximum time and a move down to 7th place. So disappointing after such a good run throughout the event. That would, of course, mean change for many others in the top of the leaderboard as well, and it will be a 6th place to end the event for Di Paul Hanson Phillips and Kieran Jones. It had been a good day for them overall. Kieran not racing his own car this weekend, so the pair decided to compete together, and it seemed to work out well. They do pick up 2 punctures during the day, but compared to some, that was good going. A good trouble-free run from Tim Philpott would see him taking 5th place at the end of the event. The times were consistent during the day. He takes 2nd in Class 9 as well. And things had gone swimmingly for Dave and Tony Hooper. Punctures, of course, an issue, like they had been for just about everyone. Girlfriend Becca sitting in again for the first time in a few years for the final run of the event. And they end round 3 with 4th overall. We're on to those hard-fought podium positions then, and it will be 3rd for Rob Bull and Andy Powell. They'd have a few issues throughout the day with a number of punctures and an unknown vibration from the prop shaft on the final run. But overall, 3rd place was a great end and a way to bury those demons from the previous round for Rob. Making a move up the leaderboard in the afternoon will be Jason Rowlands, putting in some strong times as he gets more seat time in the car. Not quite a fastest time of the day, but getting close and ending the event with a very deserved 2nd place overall. And making it a good family result this weekend, it will be the lead throughout the day and the win at the end of it for Paul Rowlands. Clearly the old car hadn't lost any pace, and it suited the course this weekend, allowing Paul to make up for that non-finish last time out and balance things out with some maximum points here at round 3. So with the 3rd round of the championship complete here at the Britpart All-Wheel Drive Safari Championship in association with Pioneer and Whitchurch MOT Centre, the final results shape up like this.
Yeah, out in the Male Faithful Polaris. It's quite a rough track. Probably suits the buggies maybe more than the cars, but yeah, put some good times and led from the start, and it's been a good event.
Yeah, it's a tough event, but we managed to survive it, luckily, just about.
The course is quite bad for punches. You picked up a few yourself, have you?
Yeah, we've had 3 today, 1 on the first run, and then the last 2 we had punches, and then on the very last lap I've got a transmission problem. There's a bit of a vibration from the car, so we had to nurse it around on the last lap just to get home. So lucky to make it back, I think.
Yeah, second time. Second time running the car. We had some suspension issues this morning, so we managed to sort that out and dropped 20 seconds on when we adjusted it. So we were happy with how the car was handling, but punches, Jesus. 4 punches on the first 4 laps. But, you know, I suppose it's off-road racing, but tyres are a nightmare. But yeah, no, we're really happy, really chuffed. Didn't think we were going to finish the race. I thought we were going to run out of tyres, but we're all good.
Next up for the cruise is a trip to the seaside. Minehead, specifically, a tough course with its unforgiving narrow trees and steep hills. We will, of course, be there to bring you all of the action in the weeks to follow, so make sure you keep an eye on the page soon after the event. For now, though, keep it sunny side up. Thanks for watching.